What's going on, everybody? It's Lance Hayes,
And Jeremy and Ajula off camera.
off camera, but we're doing it live. We're doing it live. So, on this episode of Sports Social Live, we are going to continue our discussions about the Texans versus the Bills. Both teams 3-1. The Bills are coming to the H, new colors on the field. We are ready to go. So let's talk about it. Let's get into it. We're going to discuss something about Mixon. We're going to discuss injury reports, Tank Dell, so a little bit about Diggs, third down efficiency. We have a lot to talk about, and we're going to always end with those betting guides. Let's get it. So, big dog, are we going to be missing Mixon? Let's talk about it.
Of course, we're gonna be missing Mixon, dog. He kind of the engine behind our offensive line being aggressive and just that attitude that we can have with the offense. Like right now, we looking similar to what we looked like last year. Just a 10 win team and division around max. But with Mixon, he give us that hope for a Super Bowl.
I totally agree. I think that Mixon, he provides that pop that we need. And without that pop, it just does not work for on certain plays, especially in the type of offense that we would like to run. That slow with
Mhm.
is going to run with the zone scheme. You need a dynamic running back to just kind of shore up what is going on for the play calling and game management. So Mixon
Right.
being out is bad for this week, but I'm thinking it's better for the season. And that's what I'm kind of gonna just put my hat on, that it's a chess over checkers moves, and we kind of matched up with their injury report as well. So
Yeah,
uh,
yeah, and I think this is a good opportunity, and they haven't done it yet. He's been a special teams player, but I think we need to see some carries from British Brooks. Cam Akers did a serviceable job last week. Dare does really well in the passing game out of the backfield, but I think we need some attitude, man. And British Brooks, he looked good in the system in the preseason. He has a good feel for pressing the outside and seeing the cutback. I mean, I'm not sure why he doesn't get any carries now. I know they like him on special teams and they liked him at fullback, but I think, man, he reminds me of Mike Anderson in Denver after Terrell Davis left. Mike Anderson was a fullback that they transitioned to running back. And Reuben Drones, I don't know if y'all remember him, same kind of build, strong runners that can run in that zone system. And we could just get by 10 carries from British, I think it'll bring some attitude to the team.
yeah, I question the why behind not using him. I'm thinking it more that they don't like him in the zone running scheme. That's the only thing I can think when they're trying to run those power zones. He might not have the cutting ability of Cam Akers, of Dare. So maybe that's the reason why I would be more inclined just to get that tenacity from Dare, because Dare can catch. So
Yep.
that's where I would lean towards. I'm not opposed to British Brooks, but there's something they know something we don't know. So
Right,
uh, I,
right.
yeah, so I would go Dare. He's gonna come up clutch for you. He can even kick. He can kick. So I'd put him out there, dog. I put Dare out there and just see what he can roll with. See what he can do. He's a gadget player, but that's who I would go with. But I do want to put Brooks in there. And what's the point of keeping him on a team as a flex type fullback if you're not going to use him at all? So
Right. And also, man, I was thinking more so JJ Taylor coming off and going down
he didn't have
because
the same
that's who the
workload.
third running back is. Now it's Cam, Dare, and then JJ Taylor, who I mean, he had a couple good runs in the preseason, but I don't know. Like you say, they could be seeing some at practice that we ain't privy to.
Right. I think JJ, they tried to get JJ active. He slipped every time he hit the point of just kind of needing to that patience going into acceleration. He was falling
Yep.
down line. The line didn't do him any favors, but you still got to hit that backside cut and get back to the line of scrimmage. And I don't think that he was able to do that as well as we needed him to do, or as Slowick needed him to do. So that's why I don't think they like JJ Taylor as much. But I'm okay with them. Let's do it again. Ed Oliver's out, so we should get a better matchup between our interior O line and their D line. But as the Texans always go, the backups, no name from Willacoochee, Georgia, has a hell of a game, a 5 sack game on their D line because we always play down when somebody's out. So we'll
Right.
see. But that leads us to something that we can also discuss. And I thought about it, and we talked about it a little bit earlier. I mean, I have Tank Dell here being out, but that injury report we still have. I mean, that injury report is kind of crazy for both teams, but for us, we have some Titus Howard might be out along with the resurgence of Tank Dell. You have Titus Howard going out, so it's kind of balancing out. We're getting a player back. We lost a player. What are your thoughts on Titus Howard being out and also Tank Dell being back in the lineup?
I love that Tank Dell is back. Um, I just need him to stay healthy, right? And I don't want to say it too early, but forget it, man. I think we need to go on trade Tank, man. I
You know
know
why he
people
got
love
money?
him, but
You know why
and
you
we
got them
could get
diamonds there?
something for him right now too. You
Yeah,
know, um, he reminds me of Will Fuller.
exactly. Yeah.
Will Fuller was dynamic. He was spectacular for 9 games. And so, but with Tank being back, I'm glad that he's back, and I hope that he can stay healthy. Um, it concerns me that Titus Howard is questionable. Blake Fisher, he got thrown into the fire last week. I do like him. I do think he did a good job. I think a whole week of practice, but I think he missed a couple days too. So just getting
Yeah,
acclimated, man, is gonna be tough. And against a Bills team, like you said, the big dogs are out. Ed and Vaughn, but we seem to let those third strings look like Pro Bowlers, man. And that
man,
might be why, because we got somebody like Blake Fisher in at the right tackle. But
man. We
if he
will let
plays, I think he'll do well.
the Willacoochee, Georgia third string CFL player come in and dominate, man. And that is annoying with I see that from the Texans. Like, oh, Texans are supposed to have a record weekend, but they come out there and just give it to teams, and it's just weird, man. It's like our history of our franchise, to be honest with you, the history of our franchise. I mean, I remember when T.Y. Hilton was a no name, a kind of not a no name, but
Yeah,
he
he
wasn't
was
a
he was
household
above average, but he looked like a freaking all pro against us.
name. But he was a. I remember him coming out of college, and I was like, okay, like T.Y. Hilton, get it, whatever. We'll be all right because they had a couple injuries over there. But he turned into a fantasy all star against the Texans. All you have to do is pick him up those 2 weeks, you're fine. So I believe
Yeah,
that
he was gonna have 1,000 yards a season with 500 against us.
yeah, and it's the craziest thing. Craziest thing. I don't know. The Texans always seem to play down even when people are out. But back to our injury report, I kind of made a little adjustment here. Put Tank Dell healthy. Um, you see, we have. Let's go. You see, we have a few injuries out here. Derek Barnett out, but what can we expect? Tank Dell full. Blake Fisher is full, which he had an illness. Jake
Hmm.
Hansen questionable. Kurt Heinisch is questionable. Dylan Horton illness. Great story. Questionable. Titus
Yeah,
Howard looks like he's leaning towards being out. He was limited and did not practice. Still questionable. Jerry Hughes, hip. He's listed as out, and then Mixon ankle out. But we do have Damian Pierce also returning back. So, what are your thoughts on Damian Pierce possibly being that running back who can change the game? He needs to, or he's gonna change his whole career and lose a little bit of money because he's gonna get traded.
right. I think, man, if he play, I think he's motivated. If he play, I think he'll do a good job. We don't need British, right? because
Right.
Damian Pierce, even when he's hitting the wrong hole, he hitting it hard. It's gonna be some body blows.
Yeah.
But
Motor.
yeah, man, like everybody's banged up, and coming from the Shanahan system, like the Miko Ryans, you have a history of being banged up. And I wish I was paying attention to the games that people played after they played us, whether it was a win or a loss. Because in San Francisco, when D'Amico was the defensive coordinator, teams lost after every time they played them because of the physicality. You had people banged up and that were out, but in turn, it hurts your team.
Yep.
So it's kind of a give and take. That's why we need this depth. And the defensive line is going to be thin with already a thin linebacking core. That's definitely going to change the strategy for how I feel like we should approach the game. But we'll talk about that later.
Awesome. Yeah. I agree with you. I also, like you said, how we're playing, you see the increase in injuries that we have on our injury report. So maybe it's not working for us. And we have one of the most fragile and fickle offensive line I kind of ever seen. They're fashionistas. They do their thing, man. I maybe it's the new generation. I don't know, but we have a unique offensive line. There are two highly paid guys, and if the wind blows, they're gonna be on that sideline, especially on Wednesday, to say the least.
Right.
If the
Them
wind
boys
blows,
give me Kappa vibes, man.
yeah, they probably are Kappas. Boy, because if the wind blows the wrong way, Titus Howard or Laramie Tunsil will be on that sideline with a slight grimace. Then they'll be laughing in the next 5 minutes with each other. So I don't know.
Mhm.
It's one of those friendly boy type deals, and hey, we'll see. But rolling on to not so friendly topic, our third down in red zone. Let's talk about it, dog. Tell me your thoughts about the third down in red zone and where the improvement is needed.
Well, third down offensively, we're pretty decent. I think we're at 40% um a conversion on third downs, which I mean we could get closer to 50, honestly, if we don't have the penalties that we've been having, people
Right,
lining up wrong. If we played a little more clean.
right.
What I'm concerned is defensively, we give up 42% on third down. Um, I think that's because D'Amico plays a little too soft in the middle of the field, and it's
How
kind
you
of a
think,
bend but don't break.
man? D'Amico played soft zone against Justin Jefferson. If that's not a testament to you believing in your philosophy, I don't know what is. Because ain't no way in hell I'm not chipping him or trying to throw him off his route. That's a bold move, Cotton. That's a bold move.
Yeah, right.
He said,
So
"Hey, this
and that's him trying to keep things in front of him and then
yeah,
start to tighten up. That bend but don't break, man. The only thing about it is
when you
that's
break,
putting a lot of pressure on them guys because we get to the red zone and we giving up touchdowns left and right. Like,
well,
I was surprised we stopped Jacksonville. I think we're last in defensive red zone efficiency. So we need to really clean that up.
I'd also put it to we're not rotating linebacker. We don't have the linebacker depth to rotate. So Tua and El Shair, they're playing all game in a deep
Yeah,
zone. That means they're coming up supporting the run, dipping back to the deep zone. Tua had to lose. Well, he had no choice but to lose that weight from last year because he would not been
right.
able to be successful in the current defense that we're running now. He's leading the team in tackles, but man, there's a lot of just utilization of them in that deep zone, and it's odd because they have to support the underneath of the safeties. And
Right.
man, linebackers are. Hey, I got to give them their credit. That's why they're looking ripped up like that. They're running 20 miles a game because
Right. Sideline to sideline gashers, man. They
man,
what?
the Texans have to have one of the most in conditioned linebacking cores because they play the whole game, supporting the run, sideline, and downfield. When I saw Tua downfield, on one of them passes to where our safeties looked like he almost got burnt. I was like, oh, this dude, this
Yeah.
is crazy, man. But D'Amico's putting him in that position. He knows something we don't know. Maybe that soft zone is just the way to go, a way of the future. Um, hey, we'll see. But I think it kind of puts Petrie out there a little bit, man. It's the third down and
Hey,
red
I've
zone.
been liking Petrie though in that nickel.
I don't mind it. I don't mind it, but
Yeah,
it
I've
puts
been
him.
liking Petrie in that nickel, man. He's the run support that we need from the secondary. And I think he only got beat twice this year.
But it puts him. But it puts him in. It puts a Petrie on an island, and that island, he has been doing well. I'm not saying he hasn't been doing well, but that island that Petrie's on can be a game breaker. And I wonder who is the second coming of Petrie. Kind of like if Petrie goes out, gets an injury, are we going to play the same type of defense, and will that impact us going forward? Because let's be clear, he's playing a heavy amount of snaps, and yeah, we were only running two cornerbacks out there, two cornerbacks and the same two linebackers. So if Petrie's not out there, what defensive scheme is D'Amico ready to run?
Right. Yeah.
So that's something to watch out for, and also something to watch out for in that third down and red zone. Will Anderson and Hunter. All right, we have them. They're going crazy, getting pressures. Do you think that we can change kind of from pressures to tackles for loss, sacks? What is your thoughts on that?
I'm gonna be honest. I like Daniil Hunter and I
Hmm.
like Will Anderson, but they don't finish well. It's that half a second that you gotta have that dip under, like Von
Right.
Miller got.
Yeah.
Like TJ White. If you watch TJ White rush, he's dipping. It's kind of like in the Olympics when Lyles, you know, dipped the head, stuck the chest out.
Yeah.
You gotta have that kind of dip down with when you rushing the edge. Neither
Right.
one of them are naturals at that, right? They're
Yeah.
naturals at strong hands, good tech, things that can bring pressure. But to finish, they need that finishing, that half a second finishing move.
Yeah. I,
And I just don't think that they can develop that in the season. I do think they're gonna get double digit sacks
uh-huh.
a piece, but it's gonna be, a couple games where they have 2 or 3 sacks. You get what I'm saying? It's
Yeah.
not gonna be consistent.
Yeah, I see. I agree with you. Like I'm looking at the stats. People put it up the 39 pressures, all the 1 and 2 pressures in the league, but I definitely think there's more to get there. And I'm also kind of wondering, is it because of our lack of production from our defensive tackles? Maybe once we get a push up the middle, that they'll be able to work a little bit more.
I don't
But
know, dog.
I don't know. Yeah,
Settler Jr.
he's been
has
balling,
he been balling. Like we
balling.
getting that's the thing. That's why we lead in pressures because Settler is putting them guards in the quarterback lap, and he has very good in gap integrity when he rushing the passer. I
Right.
I honestly think that they just don't have. It's just that finishing move, bro. That all the great pass rushers have. J.J.
Right.
Watt, T.J. Watt, Aaron Donald, Max Crosby, Von Miller,
Right.
Hassan Reddick, all of those guys who are elite at getting to the quarterback year after year. It's natural to him. Daniil did have a good season last year. Not taking that away from him, and I do think he can produce. But the sack to pressure ratio is crazy. You're not taking enough swings at it.
Yeah.
I rather you cut them pressures down, a percentage and hit home some of
Right.
the times. Like if you watch JJ Watt, because he got the same kind of build that Neil Hunter got, just a
Yeah.
little heavier. He didn't have a ton of pressures because he was always trying to make a move to get the sack.
Yeah.
Like Will and Daniil, they're great at boom, engage, handwork, get down there. But by the time you engage, handwork, throw him to the side, the ball is gone.
Yeah.
Man, you got to figure out how to go from engaged to dipping
Yeah,
a lot faster. And they don't have that natural band yet.
I
They need
think
to go
one
to
thing.
that. They wouldn't at the DN count in the off season.
Right. I think one thing about them is that they one thing about the JJ when you bring him up, I think JJ was able to uh he kind of he also protected the elongation of the play. So quarterbacks were fearful to extend the play, and when they did, they paid for it, right? So I think
Right.
mentioning JJ in there and seeing how the difference between them, Hunter and Will Anderson Jr., if they don't get to your sack and their pressure, the quarterback's running free and extends the play. So JJ would kind of set that edge a little bit more and play with the
Hmm.
offensive tackle. So we didn't have extreme kind of breaking of plays and extended plays. It probably helped going against Watson in the kind of practice, but
Yeah.
he definitely was able to set the edge. And when the quarterback did try to extend the play, JJ was there to that pressure was crazy for him. So I definitely like the comparison that you just put out there, but we definitely have to do better at the third down and red zone off defense and offense. Man, I don't know what we're gonna do for us our offensive red zone offense, but Slowick, I think he just needs to dial up those plays, man. Just it seems like sometimes he gets too cute and gets in his head. We get late down, excuse me, we get late in the clock and then we just have to throw some play that probably could have been better had he not trying to been as cute.
Right.
Yeah, but I want to just kind of see how we do this week, man, because third down is gonna be crazy. Allen's a gamer; they'll always be down in the third down. Uh,
Right.
so yeah, let's go to the keys of victory. I'm gonna switch my camera a little bit uh, and see what we can do with that. But the keys to victory. So dog, what are your keys to victory? We had some technical difficulties, but I'm going to finish it up solo dolo. So, some of the keys to victory for the Texans. One, we have to make this a crucial game for the Texans. We have to. Both teams are 3-1. So, this is a playoff game, and they need to play it like an early playoff game. We have to make it a crucial game. Two, the offensive line has to pull it together. They cannot stop our team. They cannot be inefficient. They cannot have any of these undisciplined play calls, undisciplined flags. They cannot be the limiting factor of the team. We have to take care of the ball in all three phases of the game: offense, defense, special teams. There's three phases of football, and they have to take care of all three. You can't have a fumble on the goal line on a punt return. The defense is playing bend but don't break, but they cannot break in crucial moments and let Josh Allen extend plays for bombs. Offensively, Bobby Slowick has to call an offense that fits our line's caliber. Our line does not is not the high playing at a high caliber level, especially for the amount of money that they're getting paid with the top two. But they have play calls that are good for our offensive line. Additionally, additionally, you cannot let backups beat you. When I say that, Ed Oliver's out, Von Miller's out. He was a backup coming off the bench. But those are two dynamic players that the Texans can offensive line cannot let beat them. As well as on the offensive side, Josh Allen's banged up. You have receivers who are out for them. Shakir is out. They cannot let the Bills beat them on any phase of football, let alone with backups. So the Texans have to do better in this game as far as wrapping up what is going on with the team. Also, I want the Texans to manage the clock better. They have to manage the game clock better because we've been getting into some situations that are pretty sketchy, and I'm not feeling it. I think we can do better at managing the game clock and doing well with what we need. Further, Texas just need to play with the swag, H-Town swag. You have the H-Town blue, love you blue out there, the H in the middle of the field, new logo. This is the week to show teams that you are truly a top 5 team in the league, hopefully top 3 and not 2 or 3. So Texans have to do better. And we're going to close it out with the betting gods. So for our betting guides, you see it across the screen. I'm personally going to go with the Texans at home with this +5, +1.5. I'm also thinking I wavered back and forth, but I'm really gonna stick to the under. I believe the Texans are gonna go with a methodical kind of offensive play to keep Josh Allen off the field and not allow him to make big plays. So I'm going to go with the under 47 and a half. And I'm also, if you're feeling kind of froggy, take those prop lines. Those props will be crazy this week. I'll put the prop list out later on in another post, but take the props because there will be value here. Look how close the spread is. So there'll be prop value. And I think there's going to be in the tight ends, Cade Stover, Dalton Schultz, and also on the offensive side, see what Keon is going to get you, Keon Coleman. See what he's going to get you, how many receptions that he'll have. He needs to be a highlighted piece this week. I'm Lance Hayes. It's Sports Social TV on Twitter, Sports Social Live on YouTube. Follow us, like, subscribe, share, network. Let's get it. Salute.